Hi everyone, it's Shell from Shell Crochet. Welcome to my January 2023 crochet update. Let's talk 2023 plans, whips, lots of whips, and some finished objects. How are you today? I hope you're doing well. It is Tuesday, January the 31st. Talk about getting it in under the wire. And I hope to have a video up by the end of the day. It's the morning and hopefully it'll be quiet enough that I can actually get this recorded without too much background interference. It's nice and bright and sunny today, but it's getting cold here. At the very end, you will finally see a couple of snow clips. We haven't had much snow in the end of the fall, beginning of the winter here in Ontario, Canada, but we did get some the last few days of last week on and off. So I took a couple clips because I know some of you like to see that, and they'll be at the very end of this video. There's going to be a lot of clips throughout, but anyway, let's start talking about 2023. So you guys all know my good friend Debbie, the Canadian crocheter, and she said that her word for this year was going to be focus, and I thought that is absolutely great. I didn't even know it was a word that I could really use to try and focus or use it to address some of the things I really want to address this year. And one of those is using the yarn I have in my stash that I have no intention of replacing or getting more of. And two of those are Caron 1 pound. I actually don't have the jumbo, those are the variegated ones. And Caron Simply Soft. So strategizing that, I have purchased some yarn that is currently sitting at the post office because they didn't deliver it to my door, unfortunately. And it is going to allow me to make two blankets. One is going to be a rainbow blanket. I'm going to pop up a picture here of what I'm using as kind of my inspiration for the rainbow blanket. And that is the Caron Simply Soft one. So it's really hard to get a bright orange right now. I've tried multiple brands because I can mix Caron Simply Soft with Tencel worsted, which is pretty much Bernat satin when you find that, and then loops and threads soft and shiny, is that what it's called? Anyway, I can't find bright orange. Everybody has pumpkin. There's persimmon, there's like salmon-y colors. So I've adopted some pinks and I hope it'll work out that way. But I'm gonna do a marled style rainbow blanket. So I'm not gonna dive too much into it now, but just to say that once that yarn is out of my stash, I have no intentions of getting any more. And then the other one is, I had some beautiful fall-ish colors, a sort of a light orange, a muted orange that's not quite pumpkin because I have the pumpkin, and a green, like a dark forest green, all in the Caron 1 pounds. So I have a couple others coming to complement those to make a fall blanket and get that out of my stash because I have no intentions of ever having that again either. It works up so different than the regular workhouse acrylics like Bernat Premium and Bernat Super Value and Red Heart Super Saver, that it doesn't complement them. So I don't get to use it, and we don't find it a lot here anyway. So I will get that out of the stash, and that will be another blanket for this year. This is a good time to pop up this picture here. So those bags are full of yarn that is already assigned to projects that I will complete sometime in 2023. So again, kind of more focus. One of them has latte cakes in it, for example, with some Bernat baby sport yarn to hold double to make a throw, to get that out of my stash. No intention of buying either one of those yarns ever again. I also have some pretty yarns that I bought because they were on sale and I found them and I wanted to try them, that I either won't have the opportunity to get again or I just won't. I know one of them is, I think, the Simply Soft Camel line, and I've been wanting to make something out of that for a long time. I have two different colorways and it's going to become a poncho. And the other one is a marled yarn from Premier that you'll see. I can't remember the name right now. Crystal just told me the name too and I'm forgetting it. But there's some really nice variegated yarn in there that's also going to be a poncho, and I'm going to intentionally try two different ponchos that I haven't made before. So those are the types of things that are stashed away in those projects. And so let's start talking about what's actually been done. I'd love to hear what your plans are for 2023 too, so leave me a comment. Okay, so I'm gonna show you a clip now of the very first thing I worked on this year. Here it is. Whoa, that's a lot of colors. I just thought I'd say it is January the 1st and I am 100% finished my Advent project. I just thought I'd go over the border up close. So I had started the blanket with a row of single crochet in this, what turned out to be leftover Caron Big Cakes in this cream color. So I did the same at the other end. I finished the blanket with a single crochet row. So then I went through the raw edge with basically a moss stitch row, like a single crochet chain 1, just up both of the long sides. And it ended up looking really similar because of how I had to skip to do my granny stitch back again as the border row. So I did 2 complete rounds of the granny stitch and then a round of half double crochet. So it kind of doesn't make the second round look like the granny stitch, it just kind of looks like a flat edge. I'm going to get a better position on the camera and I don't want to make you dizzy, so I'll edit that out and come back. So there it is there, and it is a charcoal gray color. So just 2 rounds of granny stitch and a round of half double crochet. I don't know that I accomplished making it any easier for you to see, but you get the idea, and I will take a final picture or 2 on the bed so you can see it all laid out. So not bad for 31-ish days. King size Scrapghan granny stitch blanket for the end of 2022. So we live in a stacked townhouse, and whenever the neighbors use their shower, it sounds like a train is going through my house. Anyway, I already literally started editing the first part, and I'm starting again and hoping that I can continue. I know where I left off, thankfully. So you just saw the clips of, at the very beginning, me crocheting a little bit on the border and then the border itself. And it didn't grow by that much. The border's just another inch and a half, 2 inches, something like that. All the way around in that nice charcoaly black. So that was my Advent project. That was literally pretty much 31 days. I'm not so sure I got it going on the 1st of December. So anyway, it was a great project for that month because of all the color in there and keeping me motivated. I didn't have to think about what I was doing. And I needed some of those types of projects very much for January as well. One of my big things I did in January, now I feel like I'm talking too quiet. One of the big things I did in January was I completely gutted and redid my yarn room. My yarn room is really small. It's pretty much the size of like a child's room where you could have a twin bed or a crib and a rocking chair and a dresser, and that's about it. It's not big at all. And it's my office. I work in there too for my regular work. And so my desk and the stuff I need for work takes up a big chunk of that room. And because of that, some of my yarn was migrating out of that room. And also it just really needed to get organized. So we took everything out of that room. I had help from hubby. There was just 1 week in this, in the second week of January, I think, the first full week of January, I just didn't have to work as much. So hubby helped, and we started like on a Sunday and literally emptied the room of everything. And it was a little bit difficult for me to empty the yarn part because I had purchased some of those wire cubbies to fit in there in such a way that I was maximizing the space, which I really need to do. Anyway, I did not have the inserts for all of them, so I got more inserts. And now for going forward, it'll be a heck of a lot easier to move around the yarn because now it's easier to pull it out and move it around. But I didn't have the benefit of that, and I just took everything away. I also have now a couple of those bags you can keep under the bed, specifically for blanket projects. So the yarn is already pulled for that. And it's actually for the 2 projects I already talked to you about. The 2 blankets I already said are going to get done at some point this year. And it did allow me to sort of see what I used last year more because I had, I think, 2 full storage bags of yarn in my closet in my room instead of in the yarn room last year. And now all of my yarn, except for those 2 blanket projects, is sitting in the yarn room comfortably. There's even space in some of my shelves. So it was really worth it, and it took a lot of time. I don't talk about it much, but I have a lot of mobility issues in terms of arthritis, and it's hard for me to do stuff. I have bad back and really bad knees, and it was worth it for me to persevere through that week and get that done. Full cleaning, reorganized my workspace as well, so that was a good thing. We're still out here just because it's brighter out here, and it's easier for me to do the video in this location than the way how the space is being used in my craft room. So yeah, so maybe I'll be able to do it. I'll do a video in there one time this year for you, but I can't get the camera at as good a place, and I don't get as good lighting in that other room. Anyway, on to some actual crochet. Okay, so you saw the blanket on the bed. Now I'm going to show you some stuff about grannies. Ready for another clip? Here we go. Granny square time, update time, I should say. What's in here? Ta-da! So they've all grown in size, and I will get them out for you. One sec. So there's kind of two greeny colors there, more of a jade bright green and this regular green. And all the different squares inside have gotten 2 rows. So concept being, when I first started these, 2 rows, 1, 1, and now 2 again. A denim-y blue, and this kind of royal blue, but it's kind of a heathered royal blue. I think it's called Celestial. It's an old tencel worsted. All there. And then purple. Sorry, it's early in the morning and the coffee maker's going again. And this one's the soft lilac, which is a tencel monster ball. And this is some Red Heart Comfort that was in a grab bag. And I went down 2 hook sizes just to be able to get the squares to be the same. Red Heart Comfort works up huge. So before I had done that last round of two rows, I had sets of 6. Now I have sets of 8. So there's 48. 6 times 8 is 48. And this next round, I'm going to have sets of 12. So I will mix from each. So there's 6 of them. So 2 from each will give me 12. And they will get these colors here. So I have 3 that are Bernat Premium and 1 that is a Red Heart Comfort. That is the cream colored one, but this one is normal. It is not so super thick like the old Red Heart Comforts used to be. And they will all get 1 round initially of one of those colors, and then I'll come back and give them a different color. So I'm gonna have to do a swap twice because now I'm on back to single rounds of color. And I'm going to continue to use those 4 colors twice, but I will have to resort my squares after I do it once, if that makes any sense. So that the same 12 that got, for example, the tan, don't get the tan a second time. Anyway, it's coming along. It's going to be fairly big. I will measure the squares maybe after they get this round, or maybe after they even get these 2 rounds. And see, and I will likely be doing black or charcoal black at the end, because you know I like my black for my grannies. Okay, everybody, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Okay, so since that clip, that was when they were all getting, let me find a nice bright one to use. How about this purple one? That was when they were all getting this round here of the bright purple. And so what I'm on now is 1 and 1. So 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1 in terms of color, right? So 2 rounds of the same color, single round, 2 rounds of the same color, single round, single round. So they were in their groups of 12, and all of them got, 12 got brown, and now 12 have gotten gray, and I had to resort them. And there's really no good way to explain that, but I had to take, you know, enough to give me a set of 12 that didn't already have gray on it. So none of these could have been gray on this round that got the brown, but they can be brown or cream or purple, and the purple and the gray are kind of similar there. So I've got 24 of them completely done to that point. and the other 24 are done to the row right before it. So I think it was 9-ish inches when I measured it last. I can't remember if that was on this round or this round here. And now it's just gonna sit for a bit. The reason I was working on this in January so much is because this was a great project to work on while I was doing my room. And here and there where, again, I just didn't feel like thinking and just wanted something to do and make progress on. So I have to decide how big I want these, because if I want them super huge, then they will get 2 rows of a color again instead of just going to the ending color. So they were probably just gonna get either black or charcoal black now and be done. But that's left up to my imagination, I guess. I can't decide. And I still have 24 more of them to add 1 more row on. So I have the brown and the purple to go on the last 2 sets. And yeah, I've been doing all my ends as I go. So Krista was on last night at midnight-ish. So I was finishing up this grouping right here, and I got the rest of them done and all the ends sewn in. So I don't leave the group behind until the ends are sewn in, or else I'm not allowed to crochet more. Just a little rule. So this will be a 48 square blanket when I decide to finish crocheting on it and then put it together. And we'll see if I feel like being as adventurous as to try join as you go. Never done that. I just usually sew mine together, so we'll see. Okay, let's talk about some hats. The very first hat I made, this is another thing I wanted, little things to finish, right? When you're working on some bigger projects, it's nicer to have things you can get done. So this was my bonus gift from Debbie from my 12 days, and it is a beautiful skein of alpaca yarn, and I wanted to make sure I used the whole thing. This hat was not made for me. It's actually a gift, and it does not fit me. And I just wanted to make sure I used the whole thing so it would fit as a slouchy hat, or if the person's not into slouchy hats, they can just roll up that brim and have a nice warm hat. And yeah, doesn't that look amazing? God, I thought I saw a spider crawling. It was not, thankfully. Isn't that amazing? That's that whole hank. Beautiful, eh? When I first went to ball this up, I have a picture here. The alpaca fibers were making me, and it's still doing a little bit now already, but the alpaca fibers really got into the air and it was making me so itchy and stuff. So this was an amazing gift, but I stay away from wools and those types of fibers because they do make me a little bit itchy. I don't break out or anything like that, but I just tend to stay away from them. But that turned out amazing. And then that got me thinking about hats. So I have this beautiful project bag from Priscilla. Hi, Priscilla! Distinctive Crochet. And I had these 3 skeins of yarn from Crystal. I know there's bamboo and anti-pilling yarn, and it's Premier yarn, and I just can't think of the name. So these are the 3 colors. This nice teal, this nice claret burgundy color, and this beautiful gray. And even when I was showing you when I was opening them, I said those 3 colors will go great together. So let's first talk about the hats. I think I did this one first. A very plain double crochet spiral beanie, so no seam until I needed the seam to do the post stitches, which is like a style hat I go to all the time. And then I did the red one for some interest with a different crown. And one of the things I like to do when I do have to join is make sure I'm joining on a chain, because I also find out if I join on a chain, it does not show a seam so much. But I also brought that back into the spiral before I did the brim. And this one I have like doubles and half doubles, just a bunch of different easy, simple stitches until you got to the post stitches. And this one, similar, a little bit of interest on the top, and then a little bit of spiral, and then again, a post stitch brim. So I got 3, they're a little bit different sizes. I can probably put this one on, it's the biggest. If it goes on the way Shell likes to wear her hats or not. I could go with a bit of a looser brim for me even, but there you go, you got the idea. And when I saw the 3 colors together, like I said, I thought they would go really, really well together, but I wasn't sure if it was going to be enough yarn to make like the size cowl I would have wanted it to be. So I got the idea to try one of these twisty headbands because I never make them, and I did it with the scraps. So I'm showing you the back on purpose first. So that is the colors. So I had the most of the teal and the least of the gray. And I did a little bit of cross stitches in there, you can see, for interest in the middle. And then I did that little twisty thing. And I just looked up a couple of tutorials of how to sew it together. There's a zillion. And if anyone has any questions, let me know. It was a little bigger than I wanted it, so I had this anti-pilling, Premier anti-pilling worsted. I think it's a variegated colorway. I used it in this blanket here. I bet you the month it's on is not, oh, there it is right behind me. So beside the pink, right there, where the red goes to the black, that was that variegated skein of Premier yarn I just had a one off of. So it was a bit loose even for me. Anyway, this is the result. A nice, oh, my bangs. Little headband, the ear warmer. And yeah, so you can kind of see how that yarn just goes nicely with what's going on there. And I used it just to pull it in a little because it was a bit too big. In terms of finding the pattern, I didn't actually follow the pattern for this part. I only followed it to do the sewing part. So bad shell. Anyway, I love it. And thanks, ladies. I'll say now again for those gifts. Anyway, if you have any questions, let me know. So then I was inspired to finish using the remainder of that variegated skein, and I'd had some of the charcoal and the gray from my granny cardigan here. My video where I talk about completing the sweater that's on the screen right now came out on December 1st. I was late, and it was Vlogmas, and I think a lot of people might have missed it. So if you're interested in seeing how I put this granny square cardigan together, particularly if you're interested in granny square construction for a cardigan, I'll link that video in the description box. So the remaining charcoal and dark gray, especially the dark gray, because that's now all gone, and then that variegated skein that had all those nice colors in it made this. So the charcoal is held throughout, the darkest charcoal gray, and then there is the medium gray, I'll call it, on the top and on the brim. And then there is even a little bit of the light gray that was in my sweater in here. And then the remainder of that ball I had with all the different colors there that are so awesome. And yeah, so this is a straight double crochet spiral beanie and post stitches at the bottom just to maximize the yarn. I didn't want to get too crazy. Yeah, and this one doesn't fit me either. This one's too small for me, but it is super warm. And I think this one goes like gender neutral. Anybody could wear it, right? Okay, so happy to get all that yarn out of the stash. And there was one more hat. This one was requested. And it was requested in gray sparkle yarn. So Bernat Premium Sparkle in gray. And hopefully you can see the sparkle. You probably will be able to. It's not showing to me too much on the camera, but we will get nice and close. And it is similar. So first of all, this softens up really nicely. You still get the feeling that there's the streamer in there for sure. But in terms of how it worked up versus how after it's been a few minutes in the dryer, it's super soft. So similar spiral. And then I actually brought the post stitches in twice on this one to give it a little extra texture. And I'm kind of surprised this is still here. Yeah, so I think that was, what was that? 3, 4, 5, 6 hats in January. And you know, January is a month to make hats. So plus I love just having something to finish. When I'm working on something, you're about to see something that is a bit bigger, but it was also a bit of a chore. I don't know why sometimes crochet projects go like that. Anyway, 6 hats in January. So more yarn that I was gifted for Christmas. So there were 3 skeins of this yarn from Debbie. Cakes Blue Baby from Ice Yarns. And it said baby to me. It said nice, modernish boy baby. Anybody baby. But there were 3 of these. Ooh, it's blowing out a little bit. And I opted to use the tutorial that Debbie's been raving about by Crystal at Bag O' Day. Very easy blanket stitch. I'll link that in the description box as well. And I knew I was gonna need more, but yeah, this blanket, the stitch is awesome. It's very stretchy. So I have mixed feelings about it because it's also super thick, right? And very stretchy both ways. because garment wise, stretchy stitches are very friendly, but I would have a hard time wearing this unless you were intentionally making something really, really warm. And I think, I don't know if it was that one that Crystal said it wasn't a yarn eater. I would say this is a bit of a yarn eater, just because I'm sorry that I didn't take the time to do this experiment, but if you were to just do the same number of rows in double crochet, the height you would have would be substantially different than it is here because they lean, right? So anyway, it is what it is from that standpoint, but I think it turned out great. I used 2 stashed yarns, a white and a sandy brown that is a loops and threads, endless impeccable, that's been in other things like the blanket behind me. So here she is, baby blanket. And I did not border it. I don't think it needs a border. What do you guys think? I think it's nice to see the stripes. And this is also a thing that really led me to focus more because I have none of those neutrals in my stash. I picked out a blue that I thought was gonna go and it wasn't close enough. So I opted for the darker brown to complement those colors because I just had the 3 cakes, right? So I wanted to make sure they all got used up in one project, and they did. And the white was really helpful because when I ended sort of mid-row, there was enough white in here that I could just continue. But roughly it is 12 rows of the color, then 4 rows of the white, 8 rows of the brown, 4 rows of the white, and then back to the color and so on. So that was a good project to work on. I was super happy to do a blanket project that I've never done before, but I didn't gravitate towards it. So that's why the hats came in handy, because if I needed to feel like I was finishing something, I moved on to the hats. So anyway, finished object. And let me know what you think about not adding a border. So there's been a few things that have been getting sort of makeovers, add-ons. I've been doing this for my mom since the beginning of December, end of November. She took this blanket from me. I'll pop up a picture here. It's a corner to corner, and she has a queen size bed, and she wanted it specifically to keep her warm, which is great. And I made this blanket back in the summer with all Bernat pops, and it's a C2C, but it's not as big as it could be for her bed. It wasn't really intentionally made for her bed, right? So I've been adding borders to it. So that is some beautiful pictures my mom took of her bed. She is so fancy. And here are some pictures of the border going on. So I've been doing the brick stitch, or modern granny, if you want to call it that, as a border. So you do the chain row, which goes super fast, but then you do the entire thing in double crochets in sets of 3 into the chains. And so to give the blanket a bit of a break, because there was grays in it, several grays in it, from all the cakes, I did cream first. So I took that neutral all the way around it, and then now I have done 2 rounds with the gray, and she was to lay it on the bed again. I just did another one this past weekend, and she was to lay it on the bed again and let me know if that's enough, and if we're just gonna go to like a little border, like a, I don't know, maybe a half double all the way around or something, or if I'm gonna do another round. It takes about 2 hours to do those 2 rows. So that one is growing. And I also picked my shawl back up again. Maybe I'll show you the clips first. There's 2 shawls in this clip. Actually, maybe I'll separate them out for you. So let's show the cotton one first. Here we go. I love this so much. So this yarn is yarn Crystal gave me when she was just stashing in, that was July of 2021. And it was cotton, and they were all caked up already, and it was fancy cotton. So I wanted to make sure I did something really, really good with it. I would know what happened to that yarn. So I started by making something for Debbie. I'll pop up a picture here. And that was basically like a vest swim cover up type idea. And it did not use nearly as much yarn as I thought it was going to. So then I made, what did I make next? Then I made the C2C. And then I made the bag that I gave Crystal for her birthday. So everybody, all 3 of us, have some of this yarn. And what I did was I completely unpicked my border that was in this purple down here. And I found some pink, I didn't know I had, and I found the green, and I added this black sparkle because that's just a little bit more me. And it's got that green in it too. I don't know if you can tell, but I've used this was Hobby Lobby yarn. Oh, I'm making it get all cloudy with the sun. So yeah, so all this part here is new from the pink up. And I will just get more aware of it with it having that black around the edging, and you saw it on there. So it is a good size. It's cotton, so it drapes way different than others, and I just love it. So I will remember that this yarn came from Crystal, and we all have some with finished objects, and the sparkle yarn came from Debbie from Hobby Lobby. So awesome. I love being able to remember the projects and what I did with the yarns. So on to the next. Another shawl. How about another shawl? So I did Carrie Penny's new tutorial that she put out over the holidays with that shallow type shawl, and here is the clip. And here's the shawl that you already saw. So this is beautiful. So both these are kind of based on the amount of yarn that's left, right? Because there is no more yarn. And I even used my last little bits of the cotton for something else you'll see in a bit. But this cake, I'll pop up a picture of the cake here, and I'll put the name on the screen because I forget right now, was given to me, I think by Lori in the swap we did last year. And so the cake was everything except the dark teal, which I'll bring closer in a minute. So the size of the shawl was based on the yarn. And then I just decided when I saw the cake that the white was going to need to be used sparingly. And I did pull some white from Stadh at the very bottom. The same white I was using in the baby blanket just to get through, but I knew I was going to put this sparkle teal in there as well to complement it. And these are my colors. I don't know if I'm going to keep this or not, but the size was based on using all the yarn. And when I got to the very bottom, I just did a very modest border with an open shell stitch. So double crochet chain one type. All the way around it. And I think it turned out great. And I'm super happy with how drapey and how soft it got just with 5 minutes in the dryer and a damp t-shirt. Yeah, so another finished object. I'm chasing the sun at this point. So we won't go into too many details, but there are some mam strips. Basically what I did was I pulled out all of the ones I had bordered in tan and cream, and I decided it's going to be this version when it's done. So when I have time and when I have scraps I want to work in, I just add a strip to the bag, one of Debbie's bags, and when I have enough for a blanket, I will start putting them together. I came up with enough black yarn for this project out of the last little bit of tangled yarn I got from Cambridge Fibers in 2021. And this will be a blanket one day too, in this year. Sometime in 2023, this will get done. I'm gonna pop up a picture here of my cart that I have in the yarn room. This is an IKEA cart, it's not an actual craft cart, but I've had cotton in there for a long time. And this year I have scraps. So the bottom drawer is variegated scraps. And then the middle drawer is sparkle scraps. And then the next one up is actually cotton, just cotton that didn't fit anywhere else. It's really small, either cakes or little skeins. Some of them are new from Crystal. And then the top is all my scrap cotton. And so what I have been doing and what I want to do is make sense of all those scraps, make sure that it's going to get used well. And this is what I started to do. So I have a couple of trivets for my counters that are not seasonal. They're not pumpkins or stars or Christmassy. They're just for whenever. And this is held double regular cotton with Handicrafter scrub off yarn that has the texture to it. So those stay on the counter and we can put hot stuff down on them or use them in the microwave even. and I made a whole bunch of these. So scraps, scraps, oops, scraps. This is the tail end of the yarn I used to make that granny ripple blanket last year in the spring, and cotton, Hobby Lobby cotton. And then more scraps. Really scrappy, love that. And then this was the first one actually that I did, C2C, nice and tight. And so I'll pop up a picture here of the coasters I currently have on my work desk in the office. For brightness, I love seeing those bright colors, and I'm using up I used up all the remainder of those, that cotton in those. So all done with it. It was nice to have those little things to work on and to sort of have less chaos on that top shelf of my cart now. And I still have a little bag. I'm keeping it in one of the bags Debbie gave me. I like the fact that this is stretchy. And so I have still remnants in here of both scrubby type yarn, some Mary Maxim, they don't have that anymore. And then all these little guys for when I want to make extra, here's some of that scrub off. When I want to make extra cottony projects, live in here, and I can work on it when I want. I want to get through a lot of that, focus on that before touching the new stuff, and just, you know, make things with it because they look so pretty, and that motivates me. Color and how it ends up working out. You know, a couple of these will probably end up being more mug rugs, and then a couple cloths and a couple scrubbies. It's great. I love it. Okay, so one of the other blanket projects I have for this year, I'm going to talk about in this clip right here. Hey everyone, just doing some organization in the craft room right now, and one of the things I wanted to get organized was this blanket project I had in mind when I found this Loops and Threads Impeccable Stripes, or Flecked Stripes I think, on clearance last summer for $2 a ball. So I got 2 of each of the colors, so I have 10 skeins and 5 colors, and I've picked out a cream Bernat cozy style yarn as my border. And I had originally made grannies, which are underneath there, you can kind of see, with one. And so I took that same color and I made myself a C2C block square in as big as I could get it, which ended up being 16 blocks squared. And I'm gonna start working on it now. So I'm gonna have to take those grannies apart and remake that into the C2C. I'm only gonna have 10, so I'm gonna decide afterward. I may end up picking out like a solid color from each of the colors represented in the stripes. So for example, with the one I've got completed, I could pick out that fuchsia pink, for example, to add some squares in. And then they're gonna get trimmed in that cream. So I had enough to do the initial border row on that C2C square of the single crochet chain 2 all the way around. And so I will be putting a block stitch border around the outside of that, and probably going to join the whole thing up in that cream because I think overall it's going to go better with these colors. And yeah, go from there. So this is going to be an ongoing blanket project for when I want to grab something like I did the other day that was mindless, the day that I whipped up the C2C block. But you'll probably see me check in about this on my videos until it's done. So no deadline on this one, but another blanket project on the go. And while we're here, I'll give you a little sneak peek on an acquisition. I got, finally, a yarn ball winder. And I have been practicing a little bit, making a couple of cakes. And I'm about to wind up some ombre yarn that I had a project I need to frog from. But I got the Stanwood, and it's a medium one. I didn't realize there was a size in between small and large. So this one does 7 ounces. So that's basically 200 grams. And yeah, so just got it, and I've just recently started playing with it. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Okay, we're really chasing the sun now, so we got to wrap it up. So you just saw that I have another blanket project on the go, and I talked about it there, so no need to go into it further. But you also saw that I got a yarn winder finally. That's the Stanwood, and it's the medium one. And there is, there you go. He's sitting on one, and I have the other one right here because Lisa tagged me in the chain thing. So I have my timer up there, and I am going to see how many chains I can get done in a minute. And I don't have my proper hand stuff on, but I am going to start it. When it gets down to, I have to remember, we're gonna be at 45 seconds now. Talk amongst yourselves. So pulling right from this Bernat, no, what is it? Red Heart Ombre yarn that I I actually frogged a project yesterday, and I have this beautiful ombre cake. So I thought I would look at it. I think I have 30 seconds in at this point. And this is a terrible chain. That's one thing I've been trying to work on and off, is to just make sure my chains are getting more, what do you call it? Even, I guess, the tension on them. I mean, there's obviously things in here I would have pulled out. 32 seconds. I have to get to 45 on the clock here. 10 more seconds, I think. Whoops. First time the thing came out. Oh, I really screwed up now. 44, 45. There, that was 1 minute. I don't think I got very many chains at all. Let's see. I'll count them and then I will clip that out for you so you don't have to wait. So I got 79 chains in a minute on camera, and I would never keep this. There's mistakes all throughout. But it's always gonna go, you're never gonna get as many done when you're timing yourself or whatever, but I thought that was cute. That was an adorable video Lisa did, and I was happy to get tagged, so there you go. And look at that, isn't that beautiful? So I think I have taken up enough of your time today. I'm really hoping I didn't forget anything, because I have been interrupted several times. We were actually several times. Hi guys, just another quick clip so I can show you that the tablecloth is done. And for now, all I did was, we've been using it for weeks now, but all I did was, let me see something here. I laid it out, and I had some ties made out of the same fabric, the same yarn. I could tie it in each corner, and there's also a little bit of a rung in the middle. So I tied it on both ends, and I spritzed it with water, and I let it stay like that till it was completely dry. And it hasn't been washed and dried yet, so I'm just gonna leave it the way it is for now until we need to wash and dry it. And I'll only dry it to about 75%, and then we will re-stretch it out again on the table and let it dry completely. And if I'm happy with it, that'll be that. I have put away all the yarn in case I want it bigger. I didn't want an overhanging tablecloth. I just wanted it to lie on top of the table, sort of in lieu of having coasters and stuff like that. And so what I'm finding I'm doing is keeping certain ones out, because like, first of all, when my Brita's first full, it tends to leak. So I have that one still there. I like one for my coffee in case I spill. But otherwise, I don't need to have a ton of things on the table covering it. It's a glass table, so, and I think it looks nice. And I also have the option of just having no coasters and things like that on there. So it will be interesting to see how it all works out. Let me put you back to big. There you go. Okay, so that's my update on my tablecloth. And that is the stitching. You're a little wobbly. There we go. And that is the stitching in the correct direction. Okay, guys, back to our regularly scheduled programming. We were actually having work done on our garage today as well. The garage door thing stopped working all of a sudden, so that had to get attended to. So hubby's been going in and out of the door. Oh, and he's going to be featured in this video too. I will put a clip at the very end of him winding up some yarn for me. Anyway, thanks for spending this time with me. February is a short month, so I better get on with it, right? And I will be back, and I'm going to try not to do this to myself and not leave it to the very last day. So we'll see how I do with that. Anyway, I hope you guys are all doing well. Have a great day and happy crochet, and enjoy the last little clips in the video. Bye, friends.